Okay, I'm reading an article here called Citizens on Patrol, Community Policing and the Territorialization of Public Space in Seattle, Washington. It was written in 2006 from the University of Kentucky, and I'll place a link underneath this video so you can actually print this. Now, this link that's going to be underneath the video will have the PDF file. I encourage people to share it, and I want you to turn to pages 5 and 6 first and read that. Then go to page 105. And on page 105, it states the process of this community-oriented policing involves using neighbors and excluding those not constructed as such. So if you're not considered a homeowner, a person that can have a family, or if you have certain attributes, maybe you're not Christian enough, that can cause you to become targeted. Exclusion may take the form of social sanctions. Now, the only way to enforce social sanctions would mean that these people would have to use what's called the SARA model, which is based on a routine or a systematic approach to community policing, which means that you would have to be observed and harassed 24/7. In order for these movements to operate efficiently, they have to be done covertly, which means they have to use people to persistently monitor you. That means you can go outside and you can be harassed and you get gas. So it's non-stop. This report was written by Marcia Ray England, and it matches up all the other material that I've read from Citizens on Patrol, Citizens Corps, which is also involved in like spitting towards people, harassing people in the public, harassing them in schools. In my eyes, I see them as a domestic terrorist group, and I cannot understand why our national security agencies haven't removed them from our streets. I don't know. I guess maybe everyone's getting paid. So anyways, instead of us having a problem with radicals and extremists, now we have a problem which is growing all across America. So we're going to experience a rise in complaints concerning gang stalking. These activities are done through your local police. They are also done through like fire, EMS, Citizens Corps. The amount of volunteers for these groups are unreal. This is pretty much a middle-class activity. A lot of secret societies are actually engaged in this community engagement. And I'm not speaking bad about no one, but when you read, after reading this article, I would hope that any American that sees what's going on would want to share this information, because we're going to reduce shootings. We're going to make our country greater by exposing threats to our civil liberties. So the USA On Watch and Department of Justice work together to partner with the following. It includes your local businesses, your supermarkets. They may have community engagement agreements, schools and daycare centers, your church, communication companies, your cell phone company, your doctor and hospitals, local government and neighborhood watch groups, Citizens Corps, councils, local fire, EMS, and police, parks and recreation, code enforcement, Department of Transportation, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Public Safety, Health and Human Services, local news outlets. So what's happened is that this movement is done so that every aspect of your life is touched. InfraGard and all these organizations have connections with all the Fortune 500 companies. So this movement is based on causing people to become socially isolated that are mostly marginalized. When we look on the videos on YouTube, we see that the people being hurt by these programs are mostly marginalized people. So what they're using is NLP techniques. Like what they might do is like use techniques like psychological warfare. They're being taught this, and they're using it on you. Sometimes it's being done as research, but most of the time it's just being done as a way to make you sick. So that's why we see so many videos of these targeted individuals looking sick, because they've been harassed so much and they've been sensitized. Now, for me to explain this, it could take quite a long time. I want to make this video short, but if you don't know what like this color harassment, or you don't understand what sensitization techniques are, I encourage you to talk to someone like in the U.S. Army, Citizens Corps, and these different organizations, so they can explain it to you and also explain the possible side effects and impacts this type of action, these actions can have on a community. So what we're doing is that we are targeting people. There's a lot of targeted case management. So in turn, These programs lead to a person feeling bad about themselves. They do not feel welcomed in the community. When they try to get jobs and try to go to school, they're being harassed. So there's a double standard here. It's like we want you to be a part of the community, but no, we don't. So it's like no matter how much you try, you're not going to be welcomed in America. So I encourage people to start packing up your bags if you have money and start flying out of here. Find countries where human beings can rent in ghettos. Find countries where the secret societies are going to say, hey, you know what, maybe we should allow our men to rent in ghettos, So that's not my problem. I live in a good place, but I get angry when I see what black men, our veterans, are going through, especially poor whites. So there's a lot of people that are disenfranchised. So to compensate for all this exclusion, all this discrimination, what we've done is we've created these Agenda 21 programs, and all these different groups are watching these videos. Our police, our sheriffs, a lot of them have taken part of these Agenda 21 groups. But then when you look at their resumes, you see that you're not dealing with the brightest bunch of people in many cases, just regular Joes. And a lot of times these people that are being recruited into these programs have not been deputized, they have not sworn an oath to the Constitution, and what they're doing is they're abusing these programs. So your local police are sharing your coordinates, like your location, and you're being harassed. You're wondering, how am I being harassed nonstop? How are these people finding me? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Your cell phone. This explains why I've been harassed by the FBI, why I have stacks of police reports in every state stating that I'm being harassed and followed. And these cars are being seen pretty much from the FBI office. So Department of Justice funds these programs. Not only do they fund these programs, they support these programs, they stand for these programs, knowing without a shadow of a doubt that not only will they lead to mass shootings, but lead to social isolation, which we know leads to mental illness. When you see black men on the corners talking to themselves, that's because of social isolation. That's mostly due to social and economic factors which have caused those people to be marginalized and mentally ill. And we're seeing that with our veterans and men in the UK and all over the world, especially in Japan and China. It's a global problem. The amount of men that are suffering is unreal. So maybe that's why we're seeing all these different signs in the sky. Maybe God is trying to give us a sign that we need to get our acting checked and start loving people. So a lot of these groups, they have beliefs. You have some of these members, they're racist. They have beliefs in dominion theology. You have so many different groups. So what happens is that when you're dealing with people that are making more money than you, a lot of times they'll look down like, oh, we got to get rid of this person's a problem. And the reason why you're being placed as a problem is because of these programs, which are encouraging information sharing. It's gotten to the point now here in Austin, we have what's called citizens-led policing. It's where normal citizens, non-deputized citizens, can do the work of law enforcement. So when we look at these groups, we see that, and we look on the websites, we see that our mayor, our commissioner, town manager, all these people are all stakeholders in these community engagement groups. When we look online, we see dhs.gov/community engagement. So we see that all this is tied to, and this has been being promoted a lot more through Department of Homeland Security and Department of Justice. And we see like the Citizens Corps, fire, EMS, neighborhood watch groups, volunteers, and police service. So what's happened is instead of us promoting American values, we've created a prison for America, which revolves around using Stasi-type techniques and creating a prison-like atmosphere. We are in prisons, people. We're not free. But we are in major prisons. I can't just go for a walk without being harassed. That means I'm in a prison. Now, I have neighbors across the street, down the road, and when I first moved here, no one knew me. So I started having house break-ins that matched, similar to like what I was experiencing in New Mexico with the red laser point sticking out my blinds and seeing the locksmith burn out my place. So that means that we have businesses that our government can use, or these agencies can use, rogue agencies, to break into people's house, bug their house, and leave them, to place them under surveillance, and to harass them, because maybe they're a whistleblower. So I've done through all my videos to put this information out there